Good evening, this is Rashad Mitchell coming to you live from my YouTube channel, the Team on My Part series. The week that was college football history and review, the 1988 college football season, the overview, as well as week one of the 88 season. Let's get into it. The 1988 college football season was the year of the third year magic, mainstream negative stories, records for Nebraska, Oklahoma, and Houston. Notre Dame football was the story of the year, and no matter whether fans love or hate the Irish, there hardly ever has been any neutrality. It was good for the college game, like the excitement the New York Yankees can bring to baseball. Notre Dame has always been able to generate attention for college football like no other football program. One piece of little known Notre Dame lore played out again in 1988, where coaches in their third year on the job have had an uncanny ability to bring the national title to South Bend. Whether it's Frank Leahy, who coached the Notre Dame Fighting Irish to the 1943 national title, 3 years later, his arrival from Boston College, Ara Parseghian won in 1966, so did Dan Devine in 1977. Even Newt Rockne, who led Notre Dame in the days prior to polls, so his 1920 squad, his third at the helm, be selected as title this year's after the fact by Park H. Davis, a former Princeton player who backdated his champion selections in 1933. So an undefeated 1988 Notre Dame team led by wisecracking third-year coach Lou Holtz was a good story, filling the coffers of the television networks and appeasing traditionalists. Notre Dame played a challenging schedule with a host of memorable games, even got into some skirmishes that put the fighting back in the Irish nickname. They opened with the win against Michigan on its last-second field goal. They knocked off defending champion Miami in October in the famous Catholics versus Conference game, and beat Southern California in November in the first game of the storied rivalry ever to pit the nation's top two teams that were ranked in the top two. Only one other unscathed team remained as the bowls opened, as unbeaten West Virginia. But Notre Dame whipped the Mountaineers in the Fiesta Bowl to claim the school's record 8th AP national title. As All-America tackle Andy Heck said after the bowl, this is what is good and right in America, Notre Dame being number one. Notre Dame's season helped overshadow a host of negative stories as the mainstream media expanded coverage of the unseemly aspects of football. College sports was rocked by scandal that put unsavory characters named Norby Walters and Lloyd Bloom into headlines for signing dozens of athletes to professional management contracts before completion of their NCAA eligibility. A host of former college stars like in Iowa's Ronnie Harmon, Purdue's Rod Woodson, and Ohio State's Chris Carter was indicted to pressure them into testifying against their agents. Now, drug problems at South Carolina and probation rules across the Southwest Conference received more attention than the exploits of star players like Alabama linebacker Derek Thomas, UCLA quarterback Troy Aikman, or Auburn defensive tackle Tracy Rocker. No team epitomized the confluence of brilliant play and cynicism swirling around the sport in 1988, the Oklahoma State champions of Holiday Bowl. Cowboys tailback Barry Sanders rushed for an unworldly 2,620 yards and 39 touchdowns, each achievement obliterating standing NCAA records, while Sanders was easily winning the Heisman Trophy. All-American wide receiver Hartley Dykes was detailing the NCAA the seedy bidding war over his recruitment 4 years earlier. Because Oklahoma State lost twice, it was no threat for the national title. So in a race which was dominated by two pairs of sun-baked rivals like Miami and Florida State, UCLA and Southern California, plus that Irish team from South Bend. Meanwhile, preseason number one Florida State fell quickly in September to Miami by a shocking 31-0 score. The Hurricanes held the top spot until they lost at Notre Dame. The Irish had to wait to become the nation's top team at UCLA, which had handed Nebraska its only regular season loss early in the year because number one for the first time became number one for the first time since 1967. Meanwhile, with the USC Trojans also undefeated, the battle for Los Angeles bragging rights was shaping up as a national title tip until Washington State stunned the Bruins 34 to 30 on October 29th. Suddenly, the Notre Dame Southern California rivalry would help decide it all. So on 4 occasions, an unbeaten Notre Dame team had traveled to the LA Coliseum only to return with a loss, elimination from national title honors. Independent schools ruled the late 1980s, and this was no different as far as this year was concerned in 1988. So as the Fire Irish won 27-10, Fiesta Bowl against West Virginia was somewhat anticlimactic after the wars against Miami and USC, but Notre Dame prevailed 34-21. As Notre Dame, Miami, and Florida State, all independents, finished 1, 2, 3 in the final AP poll. Finishing fourth was Michigan, which would easily could have gone 12-0. The Wolverines lost 1917 to Notre Dame as kicker Mike Gillette missed a long field goal on the last play. As Michigan lost 31-30 to Miami in the game, it had led by 16 points with 7 minutes left. So, a likely win became a tie with Iowa on a fumble at the Hawkeyes' 1-yard line with 1:21 left. Winning the gate with a 7-0 mark, Nebraska set a record of 27 straight winning seasons, breaking the mark the Cornhuskers shared with Penn State and Alabama. But the Huskers lost the Orange Bowl as they continued to earn trips to Miami, only to be faced by a home state juggernaut. In this year's case, Miami, like old times, Oklahoma rushed for a record 768 yards in a 70-24 rout over Kansas State, but the Sooners lost to ACC champion Clemson in the Citrus Bowl. Meanwhile, the Southeastern Conference, two Tiger teams like Auburn and Louisiana State tied for the conference title with 6-1 records, with Auburn getting the Sugar Bowl bid due to a better overall record. LSU was justifiably disturbed over being left out of New Orleans because it had won the regular season tilt against Auburn. The year was the final one for the Dean of SEC coaches Vince Dooley, who resigned at Georgia but stayed on as athletic director after 25 years. He resigned at Georgia but stayed on as athletic director. After 25 years, Dooley sat 10th on the all-time victory list with 201. The Southwest Conference had another rough season as it spun toward eventual deconstruction. Three-time defending champion Texas A&M lost its first 2 games and was put on two-year probation, all by September 9th. Houston later would join the Aggies on probation, but his fabulous runner shoot attack blazed a new record as receivers Jason Phillips, who had 108 catches, and James Dixon with 102, became the first teammates to finish in the top two spots on the national receiving list. After record-setting 44 losses in a row, Division I AA Columbia stunned Ivy rival Princeton with a 16-13 win October 8th in front of a homecoming crowd that had gathered to honor the distant 1940s glory days of Columbia football. But on the subject of losing, Penn State suffered its first losing season in 50 years. The Lions went 5-5 in both 1965 and 1966, a record without a losing record. And Ohio State had its first negative ledger since 1966. Here are the milestones for the 88 season, 1988. Some of them. Pacific Coast Athletic Association changed its name to Big West Conference. Boston College beat Army 38-24 in the Emerald Isle Classic in Dublin on November 19th. Now, this contest was the first major college game that was played in Europe. Longest winning streaks entering the season of college football in 1988 was Miami had a winning streak of 12 in a row. Texas A&M had 8 in a row, and Florida State 7. Incoming coaches for the coaching changes: Arizona State had Larry Marmie, John McAvick, Illinois; Glenn Mason, Kansas; Dick Crump, Kansas State; Joe Raymond Peace, Louisiana Tech; Mac Brown, North Carolina; Ohio State, John Cooper; Curly Holman, Southern Mississippi; Greg Davis, Tulane; Dave Rader, Tulsa. Here's the preseason IEP poll for 1988. Number 20 was Penn State, 19 South Carolina, 18 Louisiana State, 17 Tennessee, 16 West Virginia, Michigan State 15, 14 Alabama, 13 Notre Dame, 12 Georgia, 11 Michigan, number 10 Texas A&M, 9 Iowa, 8 Miami, 7 Auburn, 6 Southern California, 5 UCLA, 4 was Clemson, 3 Oklahoma, 2 Nebraska, and number 1 Florida State. Let's look at the week 1 of the matchups that were played. Here we go. August the 27th, 1988. Nebraska beat Texas A&M 23-14 in East Rutherford, New Jersey. Although Nebraska quarterback Steve Taylor threw well, he earned kickoff classic MVP honors by scrambling brilliantly in face of blitzing Aggies defense. After Taylor threw a 20-yard touchdown pass to tight end Todd Milliken for 20-14 lead, he saved game with a nifty 18-yard run on 3rd and 10 from Husker 35-yard line to continue the drive that culminated with a kicker Greg Barrios game record 48-yard field goal. That boot, one of 3 field goals for Barrios. Subbing for injured kicker Chris Drennan served as difference for Huskers. Texas A&M quarterback Bucky Richardson managed only 5 for 17, 42 yards, while tossing 10 interceptions. Tailback Larry Horton rushed for 81 yards to lead Aggies, while Husker I-back Ken Clark rushed 20 times for 87 yards and a touchdown. AP August 29th. Number 20 was Penn State. 19 South Carolina. 18 was Tennessee. Number 17 was Louisiana State. 16 was West Virginia. 15 Michigan State. 14 Alabama. 13 Notre Dame. 12 Georgia. 11 Texas A&M. Michigan. 10 Iowa. 9 Southern California. 7 Auburn. Number 6 Miami. Number 5 UCLA. 4 Clemson. 3 Oklahoma. 2 Nebraska. Number 1 Florida State. Okay, this is like week 1 overall, week 1. So we're gonna get into September 3rd, 1988, the week that was week 1, as well as August 27th, week 1. We gotta start with Thursday. On Thursday, Wyoming beat Brigham Young 24-14. This Cowboys defense pounded by BYU. Submission was submitted with 9 sacks and 7 forced turnovers. Wyoming quarterback Randy Wynack threw 2 touchdowns and ran in third score. Wow, defensive end Dave Eden had 5 sacks and interception. Cowboys defense knocked out the Cougars quarterback Sean Covey with second quarter concussion, producing sack that caused football that they converted on to third touchdown. A redshirt freshman quarterback Ty Detmer threw 4 interceptions in relief for Covey. Arching first career touchdown in humble debut. BYU kicker Jason Chavez missed 2 field goals and temporarily lost his job. Meanwhile, number 1 Florida State lost to number 6 Miami, 31-0. Some members of preseason number 1 Florida State celebrated with recording a self-glorifying rap song, between song ringing in their ears and snub with number 8 preseason rankings. Defending champion Hurricanes had plenty to fire them up, as the Seminoles' time atop polls was short-lived as Canes proved they simply had reloaded. Only 4 stars returned. Miami offense led by quarterback Steve Walsh, who passed the ball for 228 yards, 2 touchdowns. Linebacker Maurice Crum had 11 tackles and sack to lead Miami defense. The forced bitter rivals to swallow first shutout since 1978. Touchdown to put Miami up 10-0, capping 20-yard drive, following safety Bobby Hart interception. Featuring fullback Cleveland Gary, run over cornerback Deion Sanders for 2-yard touchdown. With 239 yards to 91 yards offense differential in the first half, Hurricanes took a 17-0 lead with 11 seconds left in half on a 19-yard touchdown pass caught by tight end Rob Slazinski. Florida State quarterbacks throwing 5 interceptions and running back Sammy Smith being held to 6 yards rushing, 183 yards fewer than in 1987 match. Noah's rally was impossible. This win was 13th straight for Miami, 33rd in a row in the regular season, and 6th straight versus number 1 ranked teams. Georgia beat Tennessee 28-17. Bulldogs had bundled great backs to combat the Volunteers as tailback Rodney Hampton ran for 196 yards and 2 touchdowns. And tailback Tim Worley added 144 yards and 2 touchdowns. Georgia ran ball 63 times for 414 yards on the ground, twice converted 4th downs, an 87-yard drive to clinching 2-yard scoring dive by Hampton. On-tank team play marched. The Bulldogs ran 18 times. Drive began at the goal line stand by the Georgia defense with defensive guard Paul Giles, stripping quarterback of the Volunteers Jeff Francis on a 3rd and goal play. In addition to 6-yard touchdown run, Francis hit 25 of 39 for 354 yards, moved past Alan Cockrell as Tennessee's career leader. Western Michigan beat Wisconsin 24-14. Broncos won first ever game against Big Ten foe as they outscored Badgers 24-3 over finals three quarters. Running back Rob Davis ran for 136 yards, 2 touchdowns. Quarterback Dave Cruz threw for 247 yards. And go ahead 22 yards touchdown. Wisconsin had opened with 11-yard edge, 11-0 edge on 52-yard field goal by kicker Rich Thompson, 60-yard run by running back Steve Vincey, but led Broncos scored three straight touchdowns. The season worsened as Badgers lost the next game to Northern Illinois, also beat Big Ten team for the first time. Being in the Big Ten, they thought they should be a little more tough, said Davis of Badgers. And lastly, Western State beat Illinois 44-7. Now, Illini head coach, that was a new coach, John Malkovich, for his offensive genius, but it was Washington State that put on an offensive clinic. Washington State quarterback Tim Rosenbach threw touchdown and ran in three others at helm of offense that gained 601 yards, scored on 6 straight possessions. Tailback Steve Broussard ran for 173 yards as Cougars piled up 382 yards on the ground, winning first road game since 1985. The bright spots for Illinois were 53-yard touchdown run by fullback Howard Griffin and highly touted quarterback Jeff George, who debuted with his 943 yards passing after sitting out his transfer from Purdue. The AP poll looked like this for September 5th. Washington 20, 19 Texas, 18 Penn State, 17 Iowa, 16 South Carolina, 15 Michigan State, 14 Alabama, 13 Notre Dame, 12 West Virginia, number 11 Louisiana State, 10 Florida State, 9 Michigan, 8 Georgia, 7 Auburn, 6 Southern California, 5 UCLA, 4 Oklahoma, 3 Clemson, number 2 Nebraska, and number 1 Miami. So that includes a look at the overview of college football history review, the 1988 college football season for the overview of the 88 season, including the games that were played in week 1 for August 27, 1988, September 3rd, 1988, including the games played on Thursday before September 3rd. Please like, subscribe, and comment on the channel. Do video this magnitude maybe on Sunday, maybe Monday. Until then, either way, like, subscribe, and comment. Talk to you soon.